Seconds before returning to Korea, the night in Japan feels different for Taehyung and Jungkook. The normally bustling city turned into a silent setting, as if to make room for these two figures to breathe more slowly, more deeply. No official announcement, no publicly shared schedule. But fans' cameras captured something more honest than just the agenda. A moment of quiet, meaningful, unfiltered farewell. Taehyung is seen walking a little ahead, his dark coat merging with the dim light of the city lights. Jungkook followed a few steps behind, occasionally looking around, not out of anxiety, but like he wanted to keep every detail of that night in his memory. They don't talk much. It is precisely the silence between them that has felt stronger than words. Between the sound of footsteps and the sighs of the Japanese night wind, there was something unspoken, a feeling that only the two of them understood. For many, this may be just an ordinary night before a morning flight. But for Taehyung and Jungkook, Japan has witnessed too many quiet conversations, brief laughs, and gazes that last a little longer than usual. In this city, they're not a global icon, not the center of the spotlight. They're just two best friends who try to enjoy the rest of the time before returning to a hectic routine and demands that never stop. But a brief footage shows Jungkook pausing on the side of the road, waiting for Taehyung, who is looking at a closed shop window. No big smiles, no poses for the camera, just a soft, almost fragile expression. Taehyung then turned around, and without much of a word, they continued to walk side by side. The distance between them was so close, as if the night did not allow free space. That army who saw the cut of the moment felt the same way. There was a quiet warmth, but there was also a shadow of farewell. Returning to Korea means returning to the training schedule, meetings, responsibilities as BTS. The night in Japan is a short respite, the last breath before the world again demands everything from them. Some fans said that Taehyung's gaze that night was different, deeper, more reflective. It was as if he was thinking of something far beyond this short journey. Jungkook looked calmer than usual, but that calmness harbored a lot of emotion. He walked with his shoulders slightly lowered, his hands tucked into his jacket pockets, like someone who didn't want time to move too fast. And oh, one knows what conversation took place that night. Whether they talk about the future, old memories, or just simple things that are often missed in the middle of a busy day. But clearly, their togetherness feels whole, without demands, without roles, without a stage. When they finally returned to the hotel, the city light was left behind. The Japanese closed the night in silence, as if guarding the secret that had just happened. The next day, Taehyung and Jungkook will again look professional, smiling at the airport, waving to fans. But the evening will remain in memory, a fragment of time that was not recorded in the official schedule, but lived in the hearts of those and fans who watched it from afar. Returning to Korea isn't just a physical journey. For Taehyung and Jungkook, it was an emotional transition. From brief freedom to great responsibility. From the silence of a Japanese night to the spotlight of the world. And perhaps that's precisely why the night feels so precious, because they know moments like this don't always come twice. Inside the hotel elevator that moved slowly up, there was no background music, only soft mechanical sounds and the reflection of the light of lamps on metal walls. Taehyung stood leaning lightly, his eyes staring at the growing number of floors. Jungkook stood beside her, close enough to feel each other's presence, yet not touching. There were many things to say, but the night seemed to choose silence as the main language. Arriving at the hallway of the room, their steps slowed down. Thick carpets muffle the sound of shoes, creating an almost unreal atmosphere. Taehyung paused in front of his bedroom door, taking a deep breath, as if trying to lock in a feeling that was too full. Jungkook looked at him without saying anything. The gaze is not urgent, does not demand an explanation, it is simply present. "Tomorrow we go home," Taehyung said finally, his voice low and flat, but full of meaning. Jungkook nodded slowly. The word "go home" sounds simple, but for them, it means returning to a world that is always waiting with great expectations. Japan tonight has given them space to be themselves, even if only for a moment. Inside the room, Taehyung opened the window curtain. The view of the city was still sparkling, small lights like stars falling to earth. He stood there for a long time, looking at the road they had just passed. Every corner of that city now has its own meaning, not because of the place, but because of the togetherness that takes place in in the next room. Jungkook sat on the edge of the bed, his jacket undone. He stared at the floor, his mind wandering. There was a sense of satisfaction because that night they could walk freely, but also a faint sadness because that freedom was always short-lived. The phone vibrated, slowly a message from the manager about the morning departure schedule. It skimmed, then locked the screen, as if postponing reality for a few more minutes. Before long, Jungkook stood up and went out onto the small balcony. The night air touched his face, cold yet soothing. From a distance, he could see that Taehyung's window was still bright. Unknowingly, he smiled faintly. In the midst of a world that often feels noisy, Taehyung's presence always gives him a sense of stability, an invisible anchor. Morning came too soon. Airports are again becoming familiar, transitional spaces. Sunglasses, mask, regular steps. Taehyung and Jungkook walk side by side, professional, restrained. But for those who pay close attention, something is different. A small gesture, the way Jungkook slightly tilted his body toward Taehyung, the way Taehyung waited half a second longer before stepping the subtle details that only emerge from proximity that have stood the test of time. Army at the airport greeted with soft cheers, not hysterics. Perhaps they also felt a calmer atmosphere that day. Taehyung waved, his smile polite yet warm. Jungkook nodded slightly, his eyes sweeping across the crowd with a grateful expression. They again became public figures, but the Japanese night still clung to their steps on the plane. The adjacent seats give a sense of comfort that does not need to be explained. The cabin lights are dimmed. Taehyung closed his eyes first, his head leaning lightly. Jungkook turned his head briefly, making sure he was comfortable, then looked ahead. Behind all the travel, the stage, and the spotlight, it's moments like these that are rarely seen moments where everything feels simple and real. When the plane began to move, leaving the Japanese runway, there was a mixed feeling of relief and loss. Taehyung opened his eyes for a moment, staring out the window. Jungkook realized and said quietly, almost in a whisper, "We'll be back again." Taehyung didn't answer, but the corners of his lips lifted slightly. He knew that the promise was not always about the place, but about togetherness. Upon arrival in Korea, the world again went fast. Schedules pile up, rehearsals begin, meetings follow. But the night in Japan does not just disappear. It lives in small memories, the scent of the night air, footsteps on deserted sidewalks, cozy silence. Whenever the pressure feels heavy, the memory becomes a reminder that behind all the great roles, there remain human beings with real emotions. For ARMY, this story may just be a snippet of a moment captured on camera and shared on social media. But for Taehyung and Jungkook, the seconds of returning to Korea from Japan are a deeper story about a friendship that matures, about a trust that grows secretly, and about a brief night that gives them the strength to face the world again. And maybe, someday, when the spotlight has subsided and the schedule is no longer as crowded as it is now, they will remember the evening,